Hi, and welcome. If this is your first video, my name is Caressa, and welcome to a video about musicals. I made a tier list of stage musicals I can remember seeing. I grew up really involved in theater, so this is nowhere near a comprehensive list, and there are some stipulations. This is stage musicals, but I have included pro shots that are recorded on stages. Some people would argue that that's not a stage musical, that's not live theater, that's a movie, but I make the rules here. So here is the tier list I have made. There are 30 musicals we're going to talk about, and these are the 5 categories that we are sorting them into. The first category is literally an era of my life. If you took these musicals away from me, I don't think I would be the same person. And that's on that. Next, we have That's Hot, or at least It's a Damn Good Time. These are musicals that I absolutely adored, I enjoyed, they were great. And I think you will find some of the musicals I put in here are not objectively great, but I love them, and that's what matters today. Next, we have Definitely Had Potential. These are the musicals that had potential, but maybe they needed a little bit more to get there. Our fourth category today is Listen, It's Not For Me. Some of these musicals are great objectively. I maybe even enjoyed them, but it's not for me. And finally, we have Terminally Filed Under Short-Term Memory. For musicals that I know I've seen multiple times, but still could not tell you what they're about. Let me just say, that is not a criticism of the musical. It is a criticism of my psyche. All that being said, let's get into the musicals. Let's start and just get a controversial opinion out of the gate. First thing, Book of Mormon, for me, is not for me. I had a great time watching Book of Mormon. Hello was on my playlist for a long time, and after I watched it, I kind of felt weird about it being on my musical playlist, but it's like a good song. But for those of you who have not watched it, I think the conclusion is kind of fucked up in that it minimizes religion and what it means to people. And I also think that it's a little bit racist and flippant, and it treads that line of trying to be inappropriate and funny, but I think it goes too far. So that's Book of Mormon. Avenue Q is good. I think it has a place in the theater community, and I think it has a place in the Muppet community. I will say, for me, as the asexual I am, I thought it was a little bit too inappropriate for me, but I like that it exists. So I'm gonna say Avenue Q is hot, or at very least, a damn good time. Next, we approach Cats. Cats is literally an era of my life. Cats was the first movie musical that I watched, and I watched it basically on repeat my whole toddlerhood. The 1998 film truly is the best of musical theater. Cats is for the babes. Okay, You're a Good Man, Charlie Brown. I have not seen a Broadway or a professional production of this show. I have only seen it because my ex was in it, but I watched it 4 times, so it's a good time. Chicago. You may see a theme as we go through the pile of musicals that are not for me, but I don't tend to like anything dark, edgy, scary, raunchy, and Chicago is all of those things and more. I have a respect for it. It is my sister's favorite musical, but for me, it's just not for me. Now we're getting into some interesting musicals. Here we have Cinderella, Andrew Lloyd Webber's version. Cinderella, I think, definitely had potential. It needed more substance. It needed less runtime, but the cast was really cute, and there were some very cute moments in it. Things that made you go, oh, this musical really could work. If only. So it definitely had potential. We'll leave it there. Andrew Lloyd Webber, as a playwright, we won't discuss. Are you ready for the hot take of the century? Here we have Diana, the musical. I have watched it 3 times. I have listened to the soundtrack probably dozens of times. And I'm here to say, completely subjectively, that's a damn good time. It's fun. It is fun. Another surprising twist here. We have reached Hamilton. I got to give you a little backstory on Hamilton. I just watched it for the first time this year, and I just listened to the soundtrack for the first time this year. And you may think, Cressa, what the hell is wrong with you? How do you just pass up one of the biggest musicals of the century? It's because I was bitter. I was really fucking bitter. Yeah, I had a thing where I always preferred Alexander Hamilton over Thomas Jefferson. And for those of you right there who are like, yeah, of course you prefer Alexander Hamilton over Thomas Jefferson, you don't remember, okay? But Thomas Jefferson was untouchable. He was the king of early American history. You said, I don't like Thomas Jefferson, and everyone looked at you like you were insane. What, you don't like freedom? You don't like the founding of America? And I'm just saying, I would go on a limb and say I preferred Alexander Hamilton, partially because he was a bright asshole, and I relate to that. That was blasphemy to say I preferred Alexander Hamilton to Jefferson, and now everybody loves Alexander Hamilton, and a lot of people talk shit about Jefferson. So I was just bitter about it, and I couldn't participate. I mean, I also think there's something to be said for a rap musical succeeding in the way that it did. I'm not Lin-Manuel Miranda's biggest fan. Let me leave it at that. Anyway, I watched it this year, and yeah, it's hot. It's pretty good. I am kind of glad I waited for the pro shot because I am a subtitle bitch. Love me some auditory processing disorders. Hello, Dolly. I have seen Hello, Dolly in person. The pro shot, I don't remember it at all. High School Musical, the musical, but this picture is of High School Musical, the movie. I'm talking about the stage production that toured. Came to Charleston. I went and saw it. I really enjoyed it. I'm going to say that's hot. This is a very interesting assortment of musicals here. Let's just say that on the rows, they're not in order, because I don't know that Avenue Q necessarily is hotter than Hamilton. And I think someone would come to my door and knock me out if I say that I enjoyed Diana the musical more than Hamilton. I didn't, but I enjoyed Diana the musical almost as much as I enjoyed Hamilton. I've only seen Hamilton once, and I watched Diana the musical immediately 3 times. So that's food for thought. Next, we have Into the Woods. I love Into the Woods. I think it's very good. I love the concept. And if it was just the first act, I would love it. But the second act is so dark, y'all. So listen, it's not for me. Okay, Joseph and the Amazing Technicolor Coat. This musical is so good. And yet, I completely cannot remember half of it. I saw it off Broadway. I have seen the movie many times. I have seen other productions of it. I make it up to the point where he's put in prison, and then something happens in my brain, and I just black out. I black out. I come to, it's the end of the musical. I am amazed. I am flabbergasted. I am in love. But also, couldn't tell you what happened. Just don't know. It's an experience. So I'm going to put Joseph in the Amazing Technicolor Coat, even though it is really good, in terminally filed under short-term memory. Next we have Kinky Boots. Kinky Boots is so fun. I put off watching it for a long time because I thought it was going to be a lot more inappropriate than it was. I really don't think it was inappropriate at all. And it's time that we stop categorizing queer people as R rated. Kinky Boots is great. It is a fun musical for the family. It's a musical that I think some people will really connect with. And it is a damn good time. Next, we have Legally Blonde. Legally Blonde really surprised me. I enjoyed it. I definitely think that's hot. That's another one that's great for the whole family. Next, we have Mean Girls. Mean Girls was interesting. I watched it the first time and I did not know how I felt about it because the opening number was so good and it was immediately followed by a lot of really bad numbers. And there are some times where it really, really works, but most of the time it's like, wow, this needed some more time in development. It needed maybe a more removed production team. I know that having Tina Fey involved gave it sort of the same voice as the original, but I think that there were times where they were just not respecting that it's a new medium. So it definitely had potential, but it wasn't quite there. Next, we have Newsies. Newsies has some things that drag about it. Like, I really think there are some songs that we could just take out and nobody would miss them. Although some people really love Santa Fe. I don't get it. It's not my song, but it is so awesome. Newsies is really, really cool. If you love dance, this is for you. And it's really impressive to see an all-boy cast dancing to the height of their abilities. It deserved all the recognition it got. Newsies that's hot. Next, we have Next to Normal, and I will say that Next to Normal is not for me. Peter Pan, I remember watching as a kid, and I think it is truly magical. Peter Pan was hot. Next, we have Rent. Listen, that thing defined my middle school era, okay? Next, we have Shrek, the musical. It's on Netflix. I'm telling you, because if you haven't seen it and you want something to do that's gonna be awesome, a lot of fun, have you singing for days, it's on Netflix. Shrek the musical is such a good time. So good. I watched it as a gag when I was in college. I was tutoring and it was like final season, and me and a friend watched it, and then I was like, damn, what just happened to us? We just watched a bomb ass musical and we were trying to meme on it. Anyway, it's a good time. You should watch it. Six, the musical. Six is good. But when you start to break down the way that the queens are modeled after pop stars, it becomes great. I understand why people are obsessed with it. It is a cool concert vibe, and it is a damn good time. Next, we have SpongeBob the musical. I will say the pro shot of SpongeBob the musical leaves something to be desired, but the musical itself is so surprisingly good. The music's fantastic, the cast is fantastic, the costumes leave something to be desired, but I understand why it is that way. They're bringing in a childhood audience and they want to have some of that mystical glamour, whimsy involved. And I think I'm gonna have to say it. When I was really, really sick, like ate and then went to bed, wasn't up for more than 6 hours a day, sick, SpongeBob the musical was everything to me. I sang it every day. I watched it multiple times. It invigorated me and reminded me that I love musicals. So I think I'm going to go ahead and say it's literally an era of my life. A dark era, not because of the musical, but just because of where I was in life. But an era, nonetheless. Spring Awakening. I think it's not for me. I will say that The Bitch of Living was on my playlist for a long time, and I thought it was about depression before I watched the musical, and I was like, yeah, that is the bitch of living, is that you're sad all the time. That's not what the bitch of living is about. In fact, the bitch of living is about something that, as an asexual, I do not find a bitch of living. That's what I'll say about that. I am devastated that I can't play that anymore without feeling bad. But I guess it is a little fucked up to be like the bitch of living is that you're sad all the time, too. So, Wicked, obviously, was literally an era of my life. It was everything to me. The book Wicked, I loved. I read repeatedly. The soundtrack of Wicked, I listened to constantly. And then when I went to see Wicked for the first time, I was so disappointed. I can't even express how disappointed I was. All right, Seussical. Everybody shits on Seussical, but what would we do without Seussical for those childhood drama troupes? Seussical is a good time. We are up to The Lightning Thief. The Lightning Thief for me definitely had potential. I like the songs, I love the cast. I just wish when they took it to Broadway, they had done some real special effects instead of basically taking the touring show and just putting it on a bigger stage. I wish they had reworked it a little, made some special costumes, special effects. I think it would have been so great. It could have been so fantastical, and I think it could have been much bigger than it was. Tommy! I saw this in elementary school, and I do not remember it except for crazy plot points that somehow confuse me. And next, we are up to a Harry Potter sequel and a Harry Potter musical. Had to throw them in here. They're, a part of the culture. A Harry Potter musical is a good time. I enjoyed it so much because I, for a long time, avoided the Harry Potter books, but everyone around me was taking Harry Potter so seriously, and I love someone tearing that apart a little bit and saying, hey, J.K. Rowling's kind of full of shit. A Harry Potter sequel we are going to put under definitely had potential because I enjoyed it. It was a different time, but it is way too transphobic to go anywhere else. And that is my ranking. These are my final rankings. I have sorted them by most enjoyment to least enjoyment. Little controversial decision there. I got Diana the musical above 6, so there were several musicals that I meant to include on this list that I didn't, but as I've been recording for an hour just talking about musicals, I think that's enough for today. Until next time, bye.